Did we do that for the other one?
We recorded it, but
We
I don't think we
recorded,
did
yeah.
anything with it. But that's a good point,
You
Meenakshi.
can keep
Okay,
it.
so yeah,
all
we'll
right.
record it.
We'll record. Okay, got it.
Nobody's in witness protection here.
Yeah.
All right,
Mm,
probably.
Notice
But
my
you know
hair
now-
changes.
Yeah, but you know, now Zoom, you can only keep it for some time and then it goes. So I
Yeah.
wonder if we still have that recording. Unless it's saved into YouTube, it'll go.
Oh, unless you save it into your
Yeah.
thing. Oh,
So that was in April, right? We did that in April?
No,
No.
fall. We did it in the
Oh,
fall.
Fall.
okay.
The Title 9.
Was that on my Zoom or one of y'all's? Mine?
No, it was
It's
yours.
Okay, I'll look later.
Yeah, because now I think after 3 months, is it 3 months? Or it's a
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, it goes.
Okay.
Yep.
So I'll open us up and okay, let me take this thing out. Sorry, Meenakshi's doing that. And then do the introduction of the executive committee. I'll just ask you guys to wave when I introduce you, and then I will pass it over to Meenakshi, who's going to read the land acknowledgement and share some historical information with you.
Sounds good.
And you said Helen will be there, so we're just going to thank.
She said she was coming, and then I
people.
asked her today to send that thing. She never responded.
Anyway, I got something from the website. I think that should be
Yeah.
enough, just a sentence or two.
That's okay. And we have been in existence since when? Is it like 18 something something? I have the
1881. It was for AAUP.
Yeah.
1886.
AAUW. I should learn what we're called.
But the
I'm-
Boston
I'm-
branch is
I'm wondering if we
1886.
Want to put the photograph in the agenda, or we may forget it.
You are right.
Yeah. You know, the next time we meet, I'm gonna give you guys a photograph of that that certificate that shows that the branch started in 1886. I have that.
Awesome. Okay, I just put it in the agenda.
It's such a historical document.
All right, let's see here. Why is this?
I have to share that link with everybody.
Which one is that?
window?
I'm sending it to you. The theme of this Women's Day and what people are doing.
Am I the only one with like a headset?
I've got my earbuds.
Wow.
I'm not even going to use them. I don't know what's happening. It's
Yeah,
giving
yours
trouble,
does
so I'm
something
just going
wacky.
to Not.
Oh.
Oh,
That's
What?
so cute.
Isn't it?
what is cute? What are we doing? What's cute?
Oh, I
Look at
just sent
that.
this
She
link.
put the thing in the chat, the International
Okay.
Women's Day. Embrace equity.
That's
Oh, I love it.
Oh, that's awesome.
I love it. Love it, love it, love it. Look at that. Oh my God. This is so cute.
Oh, this is great.
Oh, I love this
What a
one
great
with her
make-
eyes closed.
That's a great idea, Meenakshi. I love it.
Embrace.
I like the definition at the very bottom.
At the very, very bottom. Let's see.
Let's see.
You know, there were some really
Embrace verb.
cool words here that I thought we
Embrace.
could
To
use.
willingly and enthusiastically accept, adopt, and espouse.
Love it.
Ooh, I like it.
Yeah, and there were some really cool words that I thought we could look into and see if we wanted to use in our mission statement somewhere.
Are we
Oh
changing the
Lord,
mission
don't
statement?
touch that mission
No,
statement,
no.
please.
I mean, in the description of what we want to do, and
Today?
pretty good words. We are not changing that mission statement.
No, that was like pulling teeth. No. No. Very nice.
I tell you, we have to pat ourselves on our back in the midst of all that was going on. We pulled this through. I don't even know how. Thank you, everybody, for
Because we are a
You
team.
are right.
Teamwork.
teamwork. Remember, Sandra, what I sent you?
Yes, that's right. You should send it to everyone.
What's
I
that?
should actually.
Teamwork. Little animals coming together
Oh,
to
I like
support
little
each
animals.
other.
That
So
sounds
cool.
good. Just gonna see, make sure that that the screen is coming up. I try to come up. Did the right thing come up?
Yeah, but it disappeared. Oh, here it is now. Okay. Yeah. It's kind of blurry.
Blurry?
Too big?
It's too big? What do you mean?
It's blurry.
Is it blurry for the others?
Yes.
Everybody? Yeah.
It is. And I have terrible eyes.
There you go.
Better.
Better. Mhm.
What's that?
Oh, somebody's coming.
Is this good? Wait,
Oh.
That's Nina. Hello.
Hi, Nina.
Hey, hello. How's everyone doing?
Doing well.
Hello.
Yeah,
Nice to see you.
too. Keeping busy, I bet. Or being kept busy.
Both.
For sure.
Yeah.
Oh, how you feeling, Meenakshi?
Much better, much better. Thank you for asking. We were supposed to meet yesterday and I couldn't. I was telling them also, so like fell and that my elbow is like swollen and yeah, it's better today. Thanks for asking.
Good. I'm glad to hear that. We missed you, but we're gonna reconvene. So you didn't miss anything.
There's Louisa
Janine.
and Janine. Nice.
Hello.
Hi, Janine.
Hi, how are you?
Good. How you
Sandra.
doing?
Good,
Hi,
how are you doing?
Louisa.
Hi, everyone.
Hi.
Hey. Louisa, I love your background with all the masks.
Did you create that, Louisa? Is this your work?
Yeah, it was a piece for the Washington Post a while ago. It's kind of-
Oh,
It's
nice.
wonderful.
You can all use it. You're welcome to.
Mm.
I have your work on my wall in my office.
Oh, right, you're in that piece
Mhm.
too for the Globe.
I am. Yeah. It was in the Globe. I framed it and it's in my office.
Oh, cool.
I need to get you to sign it someday when I see you in person again.
How's it holding up? Is there any ink on it?
Beautiful. No, it's gorgeous. It's I look at it every day. It inspires me and makes me feel loved. It's wonderful.
Hi, Jen.
Jen.
Jen, woo woo. How are you?
Everybody, good to see everybody.
Good to
Yes.
see you.
Oh, how's it going?
It's
Nice.
going.
It's going.
You're recording, so you're all just gonna nod and smile.
Oh, that's funny.
You got it.
Hi, Janine.
Hi, Jen. So nice to see you.
You too.
So I never like to penalize people for punctuality, but we are gonna give folks a few more minutes. We had
Yeah.
we
Probably
had a good handful of
4:35.
people. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then we'll stop. So, what should we talk about while we're waiting?
Hmm. So much going on.
Will this just be Leslie people, Diana, or are there some other folks who might?
We have folks from all over.
Exciting.
It is. We're very excited to be launching this and opening it up to people all over the Boston area.
I'd mentioned to a few of my colleagues actually yesterday during International Women's Day. Happy day after International Women's Day, everyone.
Yes.
So we may be able to get some of my Holt colleagues in as well.
That'd be wonderful.
Oh, great.
Oh, here's
Great.
Helen.
It's Helen.
Helen.
Hi, Helen. How are you?
Hello, I'm doing well. Nice to see all of you and meet you. Okay,
Yeah.
what's this here?
We're just waiting for a few more folks to join and then we'll get started.
Yeah, I had a book group earlier today. It was just one person on and then the next. So yeah, or sometimes everything squeezes on the internet. So I don't know. So anyway,
It's all magic to me. I don't know. I don't know how any of
It's-
it works.
you know, we don't need to know the scaffolding. We
There
just
you
need to
go.
know how we use it to get where we need to go.
It's nice to see you coming.
Good to see you again, Diana. It's been a long time.
It has.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Oh, we're almost past COVID. So that's a
I
good
hope
thing.
you're right, Sandra. I hope you're right.
I am right. So there.
Are you not?
I declare we
Okay.
are almost past COVID.
Okay.
Excellent.
I have a friend who just came down with it. She went to her brother's funeral and now her entire family has
Oh,
COVID. But she's somebody who is, fully boosted, and it's like,
Yeah.
oh, it's going to be with us.
Yeah, yeah. It's
Sandra
just like the
says
flu.
no.
It's just
Yeah,
like the
just
flu,
like the
you
flu.
know?
Now, yeah, I expect to get a
So-
booster every year, just with the
Yeah.
regular flu.
Just put it on your schedule and
Yep.
you should be all
Every
set.
fall.
Every
Yeah,
fall,
so just be
at
part of our
once.
lives.
There's
That's-
still people who haven't gotten it.
Yeah,
Me.
I haven't
I
Yeah.
got it.
Who haven't gotten
Who haven't
What, the-
gotten COVID?
Who hasn't?
Yeah.
Oh,
Mhm.
I have.
I haven't. Yeah. There's a few of us on here.
Oh,
I'm knocking wood for all of you.
Yeah. Me
Oh,
too.
it's-
Could be that I never leave my house.
I still go. I still have my mask in my pocket, and
Oh yeah, definitely. Wear your mask, especially in crowds. You
Oh,
never
yeah.
know. You know,
at the
Yeah.
supermarket.
you can't tell.
Yeah.
So Diana, I
Mhm.
see the time is 4:36. I think
It
we should
is
get
indeed.
started.
Absolutely.
Just to
Yeah.
respect other
Okay.
people's time. So
Sure. Shall I put up the agenda?
agenda, yes, you can, and I
Alright.
can begin
Mm-hmm.
just to welcome everyone.
Great.
Okay.
And fo-
So
Mm.
let me just do this. So, hello everybody, and welcome to the Boston branch inaugural planning meeting. We're so excited to see all of you and the ones that will join us later on. We're delighted that you can join us this afternoon, and we'd like to give just a special welcome to new members. And just in case you haven't thought of it or are thinking about it, we are looking for new members. So if you would like to join, we will also give you an email to contact us at the end of the meeting today. Before I go any further, I'd like to introduce the executive committee of this Boston branch. And please wave when I call your names. Our president is Dr. Diana DeRider. Wave.
Yeah.
Hello.
Dr. Randy Korn is our secretary. Hey, Randy. Dr.
Hi.
Meenakshi Chabra is one of our directors and also a person or contact for membership. Dr. Amy Rutstein Riley, who is not here with us today, she's also a director. And I am the treasurer of this branch. So again, thank you and welcome. So now I'd like to pass it over, the Zoom mic, pass it over to Meenakshi, who will read our land acknowledgement and share some historical information with us. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Sandra, and welcome everyone. I'm going to start with our land acknowledgement. We acknowledge that where this institution stands, that's Lesley University, is the traditional homeland of the Massachusetts people, and they are still with us today. We acknowledge their neighbors and relatives, the Nipmuc and the Wampanoag peoples as well. We honor these communities and the elders of these nations for whom this land is sacred and who cared for it over generations. It is also critical that we acknowledge the ongoing impact of colonization, slavery, and racism on this land and on the indigenous communities, on their values, their histories, practices, cultures, and traditions. May all that we do on this native space honor the land, increase our understanding, and celebrate the contributions of the native people, and prepare the way for those to come. Thank you. So I want to give us a little bit of a context of our AAUW Boston branch. And it also seemed very timely to hold this meeting in March as we commemorate our International Women's Day, which was yesterday, and of course our International Women's Month, which is this month of March. So in celebration of that. The AAUW, as you may all be familiar with or may not be, it's a national organization. It is based in Washington, D.C. It started in 1881. The organization has a nationwide network of 170,000 members and supporters. It has 1,000 local branches and 800 college and university partners. Equity is one of the main focus areas of the AAUW. And the organization seeks to make a difference by influencing policy and also making changes through our own spheres of influence. A little bit about our Boston branch. The Boston branch started in 1886. And on that note, we also want to offer our thanks and appreciation to the team that was before us, 2015 to 2021. I hope I have the years correct. Arlene Brockberg, Sandy Clifford, and Helen Schwickrath, who's here with us today. Thank you for your contributions to bring this organization this far. And so we took over the organization that you heard of, the 4 or 5 of us. We started in 2021. The mission that we started with the mission, but of course we've aligned the mission to what the AAUW mission is. We have expanded the definition of women to be more inclusive. So our mission is really to advance gender equity for those who identify as women, girls, and non-binary individuals through advocacy, scholarship, mentorship, and community. And like I mentioned, we were intentional in the way we thought about our definition. I also want to mention that incidentally, embrace equity is also a theme for the International Women's Day. So we are much in rhythm with that theme. We hope to take a photograph at the end to support that theme. They're doing, I think we'll talk a little bit about it at the end. But I also want to mention that since 1881, the AAUW, the national AAUW, has been funding several opportunities for women in higher education. And the Boston branch also offers the Annie H. Ryder Memorial Fellowship. This has been since 1922. These are funds that are raised by friends and students of Annie Ryder, and it offers a graduate fellowship to women students who are teaching or are preparing to teach. In our conversations as a group, some of the focus areas we identified were student debt. I think this is a conversation that's ongoing even now. Sexual harassment in the workplace, disaster patriarchy, motherhood inequity, adult women degree completion, student parents, and Title IX in higher education. In fact, in the fall, we hosted an event on Title IX and the complexities of Title IX in higher ed. It's also important to mention that for us, relationships are central to our work, and we seek to work collaboratively in community with others. And so with that intention, we are meeting today to connect with each other and to jointly come up with ideas and action to further our mission, to expand this community of women, standing up for other women in higher ed contexts. So with that, thank you again for joining us. And I am going to hand it over to Diana.
Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for being here. I'm overwhelmed with the reality of this. We've been talking about doing this. The steering committee has been talking about this for so long. I am super excited that here we are and that y'all are with us. So we wanted to, as Meenakshi mentioned, relationships are central for us. And so we wanted to do a little bit of an introduction of everybody here, if y'all are comfortable with that. And so, you know, I don't know about y'all, I'm tired of fun facts. There is nothing fun about me. So I have no fun facts, but what I would like to have everybody offer is a mundane fact. What is something that is just mundane and ordinary about you? So if you could share your name, what interests you in AAUW, and a mundane fact about yourself, I would very much appreciate it. And we can do this with handing off to one another, or I could call people in terms of how you're arranged on the rows here, however the group wants to proceed. All right, well, then I will make an executive decision and we'll just start. I'll start with people, and first on my screen is Sandra.
I knew I was going to be first.
You're
Okay, I will
always first,
start
Sandra.
to model. So I'm Sandra Walker. I'm treasurer of the Boston branch. The one thing that the reason why I'm a part of this group is more about the mission, the work with women, for women, and the equity values that comes up. So that's my reasoning for being a part of this group. And one mundane fact about me, I couldn't find any, let me tell you. I'm not mundane at all.
It's true, you're not.
But one mundane fact about me is I love to sit in bed and eat low-fat frozen yogurt while I'm watching my favorite movies. So
I love that.
that's it. Should
I
I
love
pass to someone else?
I'll just go across.
Okay, you
That
go
way
ahead.
we and I'm next. And Linda, I see that you just joined us. Welcome. Feel free to join in. Turn your camera on if you want. Leave your camera off if you'd rather. But we're just doing some introductions with mundane facts about ourselves. So I'm Diana DeRuyter. I'm a clinical psychologist. I've been working at Leslie for 13 years, I think. My 13th year. The reason I am part of AAUW is because I'm really tired of old white men telling me what to do, and especially in the academy. This is a second career for me, and so it took me a while to kind of find my professorial feet in this stage of my life, but now I am firmly on them, and I'm done with with the inequity and the lack of access and the double talk and the gaslighting and the just the mixed messages. So that's why I'm excited to be a part of this. And a mundane fact about myself is that my husband and I have the same birthday, which is kind of neat. But the really weird thing is we have the same anniversary too. It's so weird. All right. And next on my screen is Meenakshi.
Somebody's mundane is somebody's curiosity. And
There you go.
Well, I'm Meenakshi Chabra, and I have a background in peace education. And why I am a part of this group, of course, because I'm surrounded by all of these wonderful women. So there was no way that I wouldn't be a part of this group, because it is just, I thrive in working with community and working with women. So this seemed a perfect place to be able to do what I love doing. And for women. So thank you. I feel really privileged to be a part of this group. And one of the mundane things that I could think about is a ritual that I have for my morning tea every day. It's the same ritual. The way I make my tea, the cup I have it in, where I sit and have my tea. It's kind of meditative, but mundane as well. So
Thank you, Meenakshi. Randy, you are next on my screen.
Hi, everyone. I'm Randy Korn. I'm also from Leslie University. And the reason I am part of AAUW Boston branch is also to be with all these fabulous women that are part of this branch, but also I'm very passionate about education and educating women and ensuring degrees that they have degrees and they can move on. And so that's my reason for being there. And my mundane thing is a little bit of a sneaky guilty pleasure, is that I have this series of murder mysteries that I really enjoy. And when I get very stressed, well, I've been very stressed. And so I started at the beginning with the first one, and there's about 22 of them. And I am working my way through each one of them. And that just sort of makes me feel very calm. So.
Thank you, Randy. Nina, you're next on my screen.
Oh, hi, everyone. Happy to be here in community. I admittedly, mostly because Meenakshi invited me, and where she goes, I will follow. Yes.
A good rule of thumb right there.
Yeah. An amazing colleague and someone I am very grateful to have connected with through my restorative justice work. So, you know, not jokingly, but very seriously, I would welcome any invitation she has for me. So that is how I came here tonight, seeing the agenda in the right place. Fierce leadership is my specialty. So I see that's on the agenda. So I'm excited for that portion. I am at MIT. I work in our discrimination harassment office, and I came 2 years ago to help implement a new lane of adaptable resolution, restorative practices around how we address discrimination and harm. So that is the work that I do. I was gonna say, I guess I come from a tradition of strong women leadership. And so this is just very much who I am and my blood. I was a book written recently about the legacy of free women of color in my family. So to have a history of women, free Black women in this country from the 1800s, and who chose not to marry over and over again because their ambitions were higher. And that's, lot to be said, but again, very much in my blood and legacy. And what came to mind, when I was 10, I wrote this. What I once considered masculinity, I have come to understand is femininity denied. And so this has always been my strength, and my purpose has very much been grounded in my identity as a woman, a Black woman specifically. So happy to be here, not to be too long, but just excited to be in community.
Thank you. Do you have any mundane facts about yourself to share
I'm
with
a new
us?
bird watcher. I love it. I do not know where it's been all my life. Birds are amazing. It's wonderful. And I have a family of birds that I've made friends with over the last few months that I'm very familiar with. We know their voices, they visit. It's a whole new world. I'll talk about it later.
Thank you, Nina. Welcome. Janine, you are next on my screen.
Great. Well, thanks for inviting me here, Diana. I'm Janine Tambio. I work at Leslie, and I don't know anything about this organization, but again, I'm like you, Nina. I'm like, oh, wow, these amazing women invited me to something. I'm going to go and see what it's all about. And just seeing who is here. This is really exciting. And as Meenakshi, as you read through all the subcommittees or the topics that are important, it really resonated with me because I care a lot about making sure, well, I came into education for a class I took at the Harvard Grad School of Education called Education for Social and Political Change. That was back when I was like 19. And that has always pushed me throughout my life to just work in a capacity to help make sure that everyone has the same opportunities for educational access and that it should be affordable and transformative. And let's see, my mundane fact is how much I love my dog. She is going to be sweet 16. Jen's surprised she's still alive. I know, Jen. But she has 9 lives, even though she's a dog. And like today, she looks so sad. So I just made sure she had a field trip today. She went to my mom's house, and she's from Hawaii. She lived at least maybe 5 years or 6 in Hawaii. So she loves the sun. So she sat out there and suntan today.
That's awesome. Thank you, Janine, and welcome. Louisa, you're next on my screen.
Hi, everybody. I guess kind of ditto. I'm here learning about this organization because Diana's invitation, and I would follow Diana everywhere from my introduction since I started. I guess I'm not so new. Feels like I'm pretty new to academia. So Leslie's kind of my first place really teaching. And yeah, so I guess Diana, you're the driving force. I'm an illustrator, digital activist. I do a lot of social justice work, specifically thinking about how to use visual narratives for digital activism, supporting women through like NFT collections, GIFs, illustration, whatever, you name it. Let's see, what else? I don't really know. Mundane fact. God, I have so many mundane. I guess the very definition. I'm pretty mundane. I guess oh, I guess like more of an embarrassing. Is it embarrassing mundane? I don't know. I'm kind of obsessed with rewatching The Walking Dead, and it's ridiculous. I get up at like 6 a.m. I'm watching it. I fall asleep to it. It's really embarrassing, but I'm kind of obsessed. So I guess
I love that. Thank you so much, Louisa, and welcome. I'm happy that you're here. Jen, you are next screen, Jen Sarowick.
Great. I am Jen Sarowick, and right now I'm working at Holt International Business School, but I spent 7 years at Lesley up until 3 months ago. So this is all pretty new, and it's great to see my Lesley colleagues here. I'd follow any of you anywhere. So I'm here because Diana let me know, but I'd follow Sandra, I'd follow Meenakshi, I'd follow Janine, I'd follow all of you, Randy. So it's great to be with everybody. I'm interested in this group, and I feel pretty selfish when I'm talking about this, but I feel like my professional world has gotten pretty small during COVID. And, you know, I don't research, I don't write, I don't use my brain for anything other than work. I mean, which is super important, but I know there's something more that I could be doing. So I would really like to expand my efforts outside of work and, you know, being my teenage daughter's Uber driver whenever she wants, which is fun too, but I feel like my brain is needing something else. So I'm so happy to be here with you. Mundane, I'm going to really give you mundane. And I think it's great that we're struggling to think of mundane because we're all must be pretty interesting. Okay, but I'm going to tell you that I eat oatmeal almost every morning for breakfast, but I lie to my doctor and I tell her I eat steel cut oats because every time I go, I say, I feel pretty proud of myself that I eat oatmeal for breakfast. And she's like, you really should be eating steel cut oats. So, anyway, there you go.
Thank you, Jen. Welcome. We're happy that you're here. Helen, you're next on my screen.
Thank you, everyone. It's nice. This was my dream a few years ago, to go to an AAUW Boston branch meeting and just have all new, wonderful faces around me. I had been on the steering committee, and the only role I had never served in for the Boston branch has been treasurer, but I've done everything else. I joined AAUW in 1982, and because it was an organization that cared about education and promoting women across all stages of their lives. In 1986, the association did vote to allow men as members, so don't be surprised if you walk in some place and you see a male member, because we have allies across all the spectrum. Last July, I retired from Harvard University, where I had worked in various capacities for nearly 34 years. And the last 18 years was spent as a seminar and events coordinator in the Department of Chemistry and Chemical Biology. I'm afraid I'll have to get off of this meeting at before 5:30 because I have a class that I'm taking through Harvard Extension, a Latin class. But my mundane passion is Italian literature. So I read and discuss with a group in Italian, and just enjoy picking up murder mysteries, Italian murder mysteries. Those are fun. And usually there's good food.
Awesome. Thank you, Helen. Thank you for being here and for sharing that. We're happy to have you here. Linda, you are next on my screen. Hello. Oh, we saw you for a second. There you are. Hello.
Hi everyone. It's nice to hear all the stories and all the introductions. I actually had my video off because I'm still at work. It's one of those days where a project is just going longer than expected. So I may also have to jump off earlier, but I certainly wanted to be present for this first meeting. So I am here because of Sandra Walker. Sandra and I go way back, we're best buddies, and she shared a lot about the organization, the endeavors, and it really intrigued me and made me want to be a part of it. In terms of my background, I am more of an entrepreneur. My husband and I operate a business. It's a network of Dunkin' stores. Yay, Boston runs on Dunkin'. But recently, I had this amazing experience of spending time with professors and cohorts at the University of Southern California. And I developed this love and this passion for learning. I've always been a champion for women and families. That's my passion and my nonprofit type outreach. But this experience at USC just really captured my love for learning and my passion. And now I want to, create that experience for others, get involved, help women to be the best version of themselves through education. So that's why I'm here today. In terms of something that's mundane, I tend to enjoy doing word games while I'm doing other things like watching TV. So I'm never satisfied with just watching TV. I'm always kind of, getting those little wins while I'm watching TV. So that's my story.
Thank you so much, Linda, and welcome. Glad that you're here. All right, I think we got everyone on the screen. Let me know if I missed anyone, but this is not a mundane group at all, clearly. But thank you for being willing to share that. We are going to turn it over to Randy in just a quick moment to introduce our featured speaker this evening, Jen, but Meenakshi has an idea for us before, since we've got some people that are going to have to hop off early. So Meenakshi, I'm going to turn it over to you to.
I was just thinking, I know people have to leave. So maybe we do if that's okay, we do a group photograph before people are heading out. And I was just looking through the International Women's Day. Embrace Equity is their theme for 23. And they are inviting people to pose in an Embrace Equity pose and send them the pictures. So if you're willing to pick up that invitation, we could all take a pose and embrace equity, whatever that looks like for us, and take a group shot.
I think that's a wonderful idea.
And if anybody wants us, of course, not comfortable, feel free to mute your camera, and that's okay too.
All right, so I'm going to need one hand to be able to do a screenshot here, but the rest of me will be embracing.
So the embrace pose is this that they're asking people to do. Yeah. So if I think some of you, right, we can see everybody's embrace. Yes.
All right.
Okay.
Oh, I'm good. I might need, oh no, hang on. Do this.
Take this.
All right, let's see. You know what? I know exactly how I'm going to do this.
Put it on a timer.
I don't know how to do that, but
Okay.
but I can. I will insert a picture of myself afterwards. So
Okay.
very good.
You took it?
We're good. Yeah, I took several.
Yeah. Oh,
I took several.
thank you.
So yay, awesome. All right, thank you, Meenakshi, for that, and we'll tag it and do whatever things we're supposed to do with it in a bit. Thank you. So let me turn it over to Randy, who's going to introduce our speaker this evening.
Have to unmute myself. So I am quite excited to be able to introduce Jen Sarowick, who I got to work very closely with while she was at Lesley. Jen is currently, as she said, at Holt University. She's the Associate Dean for Online Grad Programs. And at Lesley, she was the Associate Provost for Coordinated Student Success. And she has a doctorate in higher ed leadership from Indiana University at Pennsylvania, and a master's in higher ed administration from William & Mary, and her BA in English. She is an great advocate for adult learners. She has experience in admissions, advising. She's been fabulous at developing off-site programs like our early college program. Her and Janine worked on the Bunker Hill Urban College of Boston online. She's just done it all, and she is just amazing. But she, as she says in her bio, the thing that she's most passionate about is developing adult degree completion programs and supporting adult learners. And what she didn't put in her bio that is not mundane at all is that she is a fabulous, wonderful comedic actor. So turning it over to the fierce Jennifer Sarowick.
Oh, I'm so embarrassed. Wait, I think I have a blushing filter. Thank you very much, Randy. Thank you. I was so happy when Diana asked me to come tonight and just chat with you all. So I'm going to start my presentation, and I am challenged with Zoom to watch chat and raised hands. So just unmute and jump in if if you want to participate or have something to say. Otherwise, certainly we'll leave some time to process, but we can keep this pretty casual if that's okay with everyone. So it's a real honor to be with all of you right now. All right, so let me get this presentation going. All right, can everyone see that okay? Okay, are you still seeing that slide? You're not seeing presenter view, right? All right, good. I just want to make sure. Okay, perfect. Right, 1 second. Okay, so a couple of caveats here for you about this presentation. And Nina, I'm super sorry, but I fear that no one would ever accuse me of being fierce. So this is actually, but that's my aspiration. And I think I am fierce actually in my niceness, but I just want to let you know that I've never been accused of being fierce, but that's really actually how I see myself. So I'll take that back. I am fierce. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about my story, and I know that not everyone is going to be able to relate to this. So this starts with the premise that at a pretty formational time in my life, somebody, and I'll tell you who it was at the next slide, but somebody told me I was too nice to ever be successful. And it really stuck with me for a while and sort of impacted who I was for a long time, and had some pretty negative effects before I figured out how to channel it in the right direction. So that's really what this is about. It's really the story of how I owned my niceness and made it into my leadership theory. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. Before I go on, I'm just going to stop share for a second. Has anyone else been accused of being too something? Maybe not too nice, too friendly, too quiet, too assertive, too something? Yeah, people can relate. Okay. All right. So hopefully some of this will ring true. And it's not just about people who've been accused of being too nice, but it really is about the whole leadership approach, which is ultimately about positive academic leadership. All right. Okay. So let me tell you who is responsible for this whole presentation. My cousin Mike. This is, can you see my cousin Mike? No?
Jen, we can see your presenter notes.
Sorry. All right, hold on.
I just figured you didn't want us to see them.
Well, you could, but then, all right, so let's see. There we go. Now you're seeing cousin Mike.
Cousin Mike.
Okay. Sorry, I'm so challenged tonight. God, for someone who oversees online programs, this is pretty problematic, isn't it?
Nope.
Okay. All right. So this is cousin Mike. So Mike, circa 1987 is when this happened. I was 17 years old. And he said to me, I don't know, at a family picnic or something, you're too nice. to ever be successful. You can't be that nice. And I have these little hearts up here because I love my cousin Mike. And I know he didn't say it to hurt my feelings or, you know, get in my head or ruin me for the rest of my life, which it obviously didn't. But whenever I see him, I remind him that he is the catalyst for this whole conversation about positive academic leadership. So it's actually a gratitude that I have towards my cousin, and he'd be horrified if he knew I kept talking about him in presentations. But this is Mike. He's my cousin, and he said this to me. What is ironic, which we can talk about, you know, at the end of the presentation, is I've made this journey, and now sometimes, well, not anymore, but you know, I don't know if you've experienced this, where you're in a meeting and you've got your serious face on, and someone says, "Why don't you smile more? Why don't you be nicer?" So it is kind of ironic that we have to live in these spectrums. But okay, all right. So here's a slide that describes what happened because I spent so many years being way, way too nice. I started to turn into this person. You know, I just was nice to everyone. I didn't speak my mind. I didn't want to create conflict. I kept all my negativity inside. Took it out on my husband, who's now an ex. Maybe that has something to do with it, but that's another story. We won't go there. But I internalized it all. And at work, it really changed me because of all this niceness. And I got so frustrated because this niceness wasn't doing anything. I wasn't fixing problems long-term. I wasn't solving things. I was just every day trying to be as nice as I could. And there were still problems. So I really, really got into a bad place. And for those of you, this is not at Leslie. This actually happened before I came to Leslie. So don't think I'm talking about Leslie. This was my job before that. But I really became a whiner, chronic complainer, a miserable. Does anybody know anyone like this? Have you ever been this person? Okay, where you can't open your mouth because you just spew negativity and you don't even want to hear yourself talk because you're in such a negative place. So I didn't understand. I didn't understand how I could be so nice and yet so ineffective until I read this book. And I'm really not working for this guy. I don't get commissions. I talk about this book all the time, but it is really, I read this book early in my doctoral program. I'd never been engaged in the study of leadership before. So this was new for me. I've been in higher ed administration for a long time, but never really studied leadership. So this was really the first foray into leadership theory and, you know, and the academic area of that. And this book helped me own my niceness. I think another theme of International Women's Day is sort of own your story, and really finding this theory to ground what I wanted to be as a leader really helped me evolve into this leader. So we're going to talk a little bit about how this changed my perspective. You know, it didn't make me Pollyanna. I'm not going to talk to you about rainbows and unicorns because I know that context matters. And I know that some of the things I'm going to talk about with you tonight are you might think to yourself, oh, well, that's really great, but that can't happen here. And that may be true, but I am going to challenge you through this conversation to think a little bit differently about this and hopefully feel a little more comfortable, a little less stressed in higher education. So that's where we're going. Here is the roadmap of our conversation. So I've already told you a little bit about the dangers of toxic niceness. Have you ever heard this phrase, toxic niceness? It's like where you apologize for things that aren't your fault. It is you are nice to people who do not deserve your niceness. It is being nice to the damage of yourself. So that's where I was. Like it just wasn't helping anyone. It wasn't helping myself. And at that time, it was fake. So we've talked about how miserable it made me. We're going to talk about the problem with problem solving. We're going to talk about why happy people matter. And again, not in a Pollyanna way, but I'm going to tie this to a business theory that deals exactly with why happy people make money. And then we're going to talk about an overview of the actual concept of positive academic leadership, and then hopefully have a few minutes to chat as a group. But again, please feel free to stop as we go through. Okay, so I want to ask you if this resonates with you and kind of how do you spend the majority of your day. I'm just going to stop share for a second. Does anybody spend the day strategic thinking and strategy? No? Let me ask you this a different way. What percentage of your day do you think is taken up by just solving problems, putting out fires? Any guesses? A percentage?
100.
You're close, Randy. 90%. I don't know how they've measured this, and I'm sure some days it feels like 100 and bazillion, but 90% of our day in higher education or in our work is spent in putting out fires, in dealing with problems. And this book also talks about framing higher education as it's in a constant state of chaos, right? Higher ed is constantly changing. The only thing that is constant in higher ed is chaos and stress. So if you can start thinking about higher ed that way, that this is just, it's a terrible way to be, but it is the way we are. It is higher ed because of the nature of it, that it is just, this is the state of higher ed. And that really helped me also kind of reframe what was happening and my frustration with my inability to solve what seemed like pretty straightforward problems, right? So, you know, the other comparison that I like to make about higher ed is it's like a Pez dispenser. Does everybody know a Pez dispenser? Okay, so Pez dispensers, they come up one at a time and you eat one, and the next one comes up, and you eat that one, and the next one comes up. And they're constantly coming up. This is higher ed. These are the problems that we solve, right? You solve one, here comes another one. And, you know, just like Pez, if you have to eat so many Pez, eventually you're going to get sick of Pez. So eventually all of these Pez and all of these problems lead us to a big problem of being negative. And this was compounded by my niceness. So here's where we get a little bit into sort of what some of us might have in common, even if you don't share this niceness problem. So here's one problem of just focusing on problems all day is the old tree through the forest. And this is one of my favorite quotes from this book. You know, if we pay attention to these immediate things, we really do lose the forest. We lose the opportunity to think in a bigger way. Okay, so knowing that this is true, the other problem with problem solving is this. Let's see, Louisa, is that you who likes Day of the Dead? This is a real problem, is as we become negative, we're going to run into vampires, maybe not real vampires, but these kinds of vampires. I'm going to give you a minute to digest this quote, right? Negative people are energy vampires who suck the vitality right out of you. You know who I'm talking about, right? You have energy vampires in your life. Even if you don't have them at work, maybe you have them in your family. Maybe you have friends who are like this, where seriously they call and you're not going to answer the phone ever. You would rather text or WhatsApp them than talk to them because of this, because you know that you will be, sucked of your life after this conversation. And we all know who these people are at work. You know, these are the people that you're walking down the hallway, you're in a good mood, things are going, you're trying to be positive, you've got your smile on, and you run into Sir Grumpy. Sorry, we're going to make him a man. Sir Grumpy in the hallway, and you make the mistake of saying this, "How are you?" And Sir Grumpy makes the mistake of telling you how he really is. And he's got to start by telling you how busy he is. And he's probably much busier than you, how he's in back-to-back meetings. He hasn't had time to eat breakfast or lunch or dinner. He hasn't had water in 7 days, and this and this, and it goes on and on and on, right? So then you leave that conversation and you've been infected. And now you are an energy vampire. So the next person who asks you how you are, you may have the same effect. And so we continue to infect each other in this terrible cycle of negativity, right? So what's the problem with that? Does anybody relate to this? Anybody? Okay, yeah, I'm not going to ask you to put people's names in the chat who your energy vampires are, but I know you know who they are. So, all right, so what is the problem of negativity in higher education that makes people unhappy? Here's the problem. In some article I read in my doctoral studies, I came across this business theory called generalized exchange theory. And this really is the problem with negativity. And what this theory said is, well, I'm going to advance to the next slide because my findings are here. So their findings are here. So they found 3 things. So they said that managers directly impact employee satisfaction, which in turn directly impacts customer satisfaction. Okay. And again, even if you are not a manager or, you don't supervise people, this could also be processes or the system, right? Something above you that is impacting your satisfaction is going to therefore impact your customer satisfaction. And obviously in higher ed, our customers are students. So what they found, number 2, is that customers are twice as likely to make purchases when they perceive the employees are happy at work. So you think about how this has reflected for you. Did you ever walk into a store and whoever the salesperson is behind the counter and ignoring you, ignoring you, you're making eye contact, looking for help, and this person is ignoring you. Maybe they are on their phone, or maybe they're kvetching with another employee, but how likely are you to buy something? I mean, when that happens to me, I usually just walk out because either I'm embarrassed or whatever. I usually walk out. Same as in higher ed, right? So the third interesting finding here is that it's not the managers that have an impact on those customers, right? Our bosses aren't interacting with students direct. It's us. It's the frontline employee, right? So this is the problem when negativity trickles down an organizational chart or throughout an institution, is that our students suffer. And when our students perceive that we're not happy, they're not going to stay. They're not going to come and they're not going to stay. I mean, of course, there's other reasons. Okay, so here's the most simple way that I can frame happiness as a revenue consideration in higher education. Happy students make us money. So that's just something to consider. So I'm trying to get you to buy into this, why it's really important for us to consider this. All right, so all of that said, just a little bit of background. I want to tell you a little bit about how discovering positive leadership changed me. And I am going to talk to you again about the principles in a little bit. But basically, positive academic leadership, and all of you who study psychology or organizational behavior will know that, or will recognize this, that this is really founded in a positive psychology movement. It's a very strengths-based approach to leadership, where, again, not Pollyanna, we're not ignoring the bad things, but we're really focusing on starting from where we are and focusing on what we can change instead of what we can't change. So this kind of really was transformational for me. So for me, and I've mentioned this before, that first bullet, recognizing that this is just the state, was really helpful. I would dread registration times because, we're insane. Students are great. Like everybody's just so, and you can't wait until spring break. But if you start realizing, this is just the day, and this is just how it's going to be. It's going to be chaotic every day, and that is normal. Then it really helps to sort of reframe your approach to the work. The other thing that positive academic leadership does is it helps us not to misinterpret the usual chaos for crisis, right? So that this is really important, and this is probably why we spend our days hopping from fire to fire, is that it feels like everything is a crisis, and it may be. I'm not saying that things aren't a crisis, but if you move into normalizing the chaos, then you might be able to really find the things that are that you need to put out versus the things that can be put off till later. This also helps us move to a systems thinking possibility where, where problems, I'm going to talk about this again in a little bit here, but where problems don't necessarily get tied to people, they get tied to systems. So if this is also a little bit of a relief that, if there's some troublemakers or specific people that are bringing you down, try to think about how the system is creating that dynamic, because you can't do anything about that person, but you certainly can do something about the system from wherever you sit. Okay, so again, with positive psychology, this shifts from uncertainty to possibilities, saying yes where I can. Now, please don't misunderstand that I'm saying you should say yes to everything. I know job creep is a very real problem in higher ed. Not getting compensated for additional things that you take on is really problematic, and that's not what I'm saying. But in areas where you are trying to grow or trying to develop or feel uncomfortable, say yes. If you think you can handle it, and you think you can do it without being resentful if you're not going to get paid for it, say yes when you can. Just take on new things. Probably the most important thing I learned from this book is that I've changed my language around busyness. So again, going back to that energy vampire, what is the first thing most people in higher education say when you ask them how they are, or how was their day, or how was their morning? Oh, so busy, back-to-back phone calls. I'm so busy. I worked 16 hours yesterday. So, and that may be true, but it doesn't help anyone. First of all, everybody thinks they're the busiest person, right? So, when someone says that, you're like, oh, I bet you weren't as busy as I was. But at any rate, it doesn't help you. It doesn't help them. And again, this is going to sound a little Pollyanna, but I don't say that anymore. So when people ask me how I am, I mean, and the other fear is that people are going to think I'm not busy. Right? Because busy also equals successful, but I am challenging us all to kind of challenge that narrative. But it almost feels like we have to tell people how busy we are to make sure they know that we are important, know that we are successful, know that we are working. And again, I'm going to challenge you to try to think differently about that. So, when people ask me how I am, if it is busy, and it often is, I say it's hopping. We are really hopping. Things are jamming. It's rocking and rolling, because that helps me have just a more positive perspective of a day that maybe I've spent in back-to-back meetings. So I challenge you, just for a day, just for tomorrow, when someone asks you how you are, try to avoid telling them how busy you are. Just one day. Think of a different adjective. And of course, healthy balance for your lifestyle. We've all heard a lot about that, and I know it's tough. The one thing I want to sort of enforce for women in leadership positions is try to model this for women that you mentor and for folks that you supervise. And that's where it starts, right? If you've got a boss who emails you all weekend and late into the night, of course, you're not going to be able to maintain healthy life balance. So, if you need to work on the weekends and late at night, that's fine, but time your emails to go out when folks are at work. And I actually noticed that Microsoft Outlook, the newest version, has like a work hours warning. Like if you're, and I think this is true, we work with a lot of folks in different time zones. So it is really difficult to not email, so London is 6 hours ahead, Dubai is 9 hours ahead, where we have different colleagues. But Outlook has this cool little function that, kind of tells you what people's working hours are. But at any rate, just, try to think about that. And sometimes it's unavoidable, but if you have to send an email in the evening or the weekend, try to start it with, this is just, to put in your inbox, do not respond until your workday or something like that. But, and also for yourselves, obviously try to keep, keep that balance. I forgive myself when I slip. I am not perfect. Janine and Randy, everybody who has worked with me has heard these stories and knows that I have a nickname. And it's Jennafrika. So I am not always positive and optimistic. Yes, my children coined that, but I think it's carried, and I'm pretty sure people refer to me as Jennafrika behind my back at work sometimes. So forgive yourself when you slip. You can't be positive all the time. Here's another really important one, is to make constructive suggestions from wherever you sit. The other thing I used to tell people, and this was especially true at Leslie when people didn't know who owned things and didn't know where processes sat and didn't know who was in charge of anything. Well, sometimes I would just pretend like I was in charge of everything and make decisions and make suggestions like they were mine to make. And, you'll find most of the time that works, because if someone doesn't know how to solve a problem or know whose responsibility is to solve the problem, then why not you? All right, so these were just sort of my personal changes. The other thing that I want to suggest that I don't have on this slide, but ways to kind of think about, keeping this is kind of have a mantra for yourself, whatever you're trying to work on at work, and maybe it's life. But and one funny thing I did after I read this book is I made all of my passwords my goals, because think about how many times you have to enter your password in a given day. Change it to something that makes you happy when you type it, not like, I hate my job, 2023 star, but, something else that will, every time you type it, has a positive impact on you, whether it's a favorite poem or a favorite quote or something. So that's just another little suggestion that I like doing because it's fun. All right. So I want to just focus on that last bullet point about making change from wherever you sit. I want us all to try to remember that and this is a little cliche, but that change can be a ripple. And in fact, that's how most change happens. It doesn't happen in a waterfall, right? And waterfall being the hierarchical, top down, we're drowning, this is what you're going to do. Change can start anywhere. Anyone can throw something into water and start this ripple. So I just want you to keep this imagery in mind. When you're feeling powerless and you're feeling like your autonomy is gone, start small, because the ripples, we don't know, where the ripples will go, but just keep this in mind, that it can make change. Okay, so here's some pretty wordy academic slides. I'll definitely send you this slideshow if you're interested, so that you have these. But and these were the top 9 things that I pulled out of this book that I really form in my own leadership approach. So one of the first, number 1 is again about systems. I really try not to be hierarchical. I know some of us work in very chain of command hierarchical systems, and it's sometimes hard to work in that, but wherever you have control, try to not do that. Try to really work more as a system than as a supervisor. And that leads to number 2, really empower everyone, typo, in your area, giving them sufficient authority. And we have control over that too at all different levels. Keep your door open. Again, I know you all know people who don't do this, and you need to be ready to meet with anyone, no matter where they sit on the organizational chart. So, hopefully you'll be in a position where you can enact that. This is another one about intervening or throwing the rock to create a ripple. Never hesitate to intervene just because it's not your job. If you know the answer to something, or you see something that's not happening, try to resist saying that's not my job. I had a glaring example of this. I traveled recently, and I was in the airport, and I was in line going through the the security line, and there was an abandoned backpack in the line. Now, like everywhere, we're taught don't leave your stuff. There's announcements. And so this backpack, it was kind of a smallish line. And like a lot of people were looking at it, and there were security people walking around. But so I get up to the security desk, and I gave him my ID and my boarding pass. And I said, by the way, there's an unattended backpack. And he's like, oh, I don't know. That's not my job. And I said, oh, wow. So imagine the implications. I mean, that's a pretty extreme example, but oh my gosh, what if it was something, right? Now we're all going to get exploded because it's not this person's job. So again, I know that's a pretty big example. Here's again about systems. I can't talk enough about systems. We started this meeting talking about the importance of relationships. We are a system, and we are a network. We are not just individuals, and that's the only way that we're going to be able to get things done in higher education. So that leads to number 6, which again, I know is very challenging because we've got some characters that we work with, but really try to frame your problems as coming from broken processes and systems and not people. It's a lot less frustrating when you pay attention in that way. You're going to accept responsibility for your own actions. And I won't name her, but there is somebody on this meeting who literally would kick me under the table when I started apologizing for things that were not my fault. And she still throws daggers at me in Zoom meetings. But when something is your fault, or you do something that has bad results, just own up to it, and it's okay. And by you owning up to it, then again, you're modeling that it's okay to not be perfect, right? We can be women and leaders, and we're afraid to make mistakes sometimes, and it's okay. And that's okay. Number 8 is again, along the theme of interpreting your role as a catalyst as opposed to the decider. You can be the person who brings about progress. You don't have to be the one who makes all the decisions. And I found this really reassuring as I advanced through leadership positions, that you just don't have to know everything about the areas that you oversee. And sometimes it can be intimidating, and sometimes we don't take risks because we feel like we don't have this experience or this experience. Well, you don't need to have everything. You just need to let the people who are the experts do their jobs, right? Okay, and then the last one is just about open-mindedness, you know, and as leaders, I know we all know this, but we don't hold the monopoly on a truth just because of a title. It's the system should be open and our minds as well. Okay, so this is just a couple of important reminders from this book. Okay, so I want to really drive home this point about leading from where you are. And again, I know this can be challenging depending on the type of environment you're in, but in this book, Buller was presented a lot of case studies, and one of the case studies he put forward was from Tracy Tyree, who used to be the former AVP at USF. And he said, meaningful change often occurs not as a result of actions by taking those at the pinnacle of a hierarchy, but as the result of choices made by those not nominally in charge. Right? So this is also called social leadership, where folks who are doing the work, who are engaged in the process, are really making choices and designing systems and processes that move an institution forward as a whole. Okay. So this is kind of the wrap-up slide before we kind of have a conversation about this, but here's what I want you to remember, and we've all seen how this happens, right? Content, resentment, they build, they flourish, and it is contagious. Here's my sunshiny statement for you. This is also true. Hope, resilience, joy, if you can bring that to work, and it may irritate people in the beginning. Why are you always so happy? And then you have the chance to spread this message, right? That this is how we need to be in higher ed, because that's how we're going to make change. And here is my last thought to leave you with. When we change the way we lead, the effect becomes noticeable throughout the institution as a whole. So again, wherever you're leading, whoever you're leading, even if it's just yourself, you can make a change, and it's not going to happen overnight, but eventually ripples reach the end of the pond, right? All right, so that is my spiel. So let's, this is my contact information. Certainly we'll be happy to share this with you. But again, thank you so much for letting me talk with you. Yeah, so let's just have a conversation. Any reactions, any input? Anyone want to share what they've been told they are too something?
Oh, I'm too sensitive.
You're too sensitive.
Way too sensitive, yeah, apparently.
Yeah.
But, I don't, because I always ask, well, what is the line of not sensitive enough?
Yeah, right. Hey, Diana, can
Sensitive,
you can you unpin me so I can?
Yep.
Okay.
There we go.
Thank you. Good. Now I can see everybody's face better. Thank you. Yeah. So I think a lot of people. Anyone else heard they're too sensitive? I think that goes along with being too nice, being too emotional, being too this, being too that. Yeah.
I loved your presentation, Jen. It was really uplifting, and it was very inspiring. I loved it. Thank you. I want to definitely read it 100 times.
Thanks, Janine. Hi, Sabina. But Diana, what I want to say about being too, there's a leadership theory for everything. And, I really think that, and I would really never call you too sensitive, because I think what you are is an empath, and that's what we need. But I think it's also sort of, resisting that label that other people give us, and owning who we are and what we are. So, yeah. Nina, I see your hand, and then Meenakshi.
Well, I think Meenakshi was first, so I'll give you a chance.
Hey, go ahead, Dina. That's okay. Go ahead.
I guess what's coming up for me, I think, is bringing in a lens of intersectionality to that framework and that experience that I think rings differently for me as a Black woman. I'm too Black, period, right? And so it's going to be too however I show up, and with the intention to silence or dismiss me. And so whatever plays to power in the room is whatever I'm going to be too much of in order to have to be silenced. So I think there's another interplay that comes out
Yeah.
That has to, you know, there are other complexities and nuances to have to navigate when you add those intersectionalities to that dynamic that make it for even more of a mental gymnastic routine, an emotional and psychological one to have to navigate all of those things, which is, I think for me, you know, standing more firmly in a place of unapologeticness about how I show up as a way to kind of affirm and start to deflect from those things that show up as ways to silence me or make me smaller in those spaces.
Yeah. Nina, thank you for sharing that. And yeah, thank you for sharing that. One of my gut responses to that is we need to do a better job of educating leaders about that. You know, it is not up to you to help other people deal with that. It is up to leaders and people in higher education to not do that to folks. So I really appreciate you sharing that. Meenakshi?
Thank you, Jen. This is so thought-provoking, and I was just thinking about how we show up, because that sort of has this ripple effect, as you mentioned. And I'm sort of struggling with showing up as positive and happy, which is important, and also showing up as real, because that would invite people to be real. And so, and in academia, most times we hide behind, sometimes the happiness syndrome or the positivity is used to camouflage what needs to be out there. And so I'm sort of sitting with this tension of how do we do both?
Yep.
In the most real way, and allowing others to do the same.
Yeah. And I had a few slides that I had taken out about the difference between fake happy and just that, you know, putting that face on. And that's not at all what this is about. It's sort of a more positive approach, even when things are really terrible. So I understand what you're saying. And, you know, and that went to my point about the irony where we're accused of, you know, well, why can't you just look on the bright side? Why can't you be more of a glass half full kind of a person? So I understand there is a balance. And I think for me, this is sort of more of an approach, not a daily affect. Right. So if your general leadership approach is in a positive direction, and your approach to people is in a positive direction. So for me, this is about how people are treated in supervisory roles and how we approach problems, not that we have to put a happy face on about it. Hope that makes sense, but I understand. Yeah, I understand what you're saying. That's a really important point. Diana?
Meenakshi, did you have more? Your hand is still up. Well, just trying to make sure. I just wanted to echo what Janine was saying. I feel completely inspired, reflective, and you know, so I've been in my current position for 3 or 4 years, and just listening to you with the ripples and all of that, I have realized how I used to make a lot of questions of, oh, you know what we do to solve this problem is da da da, and I'm realizing that now there's a part of me steeped in anger of I don't want to contribute to the solution. I just want to be mad. This is bad, and I just want to feel bad because it is bad, right? And so just reflecting on how much I mean, the situations are real, right? And they're legitimately things to be legitimately angry about. But finding that I'm sometimes digging the hole deeper than it needs to be. This is amazing. You've given me so much food for thought here. And I think I only kicked you one time.
No, it was her. She kicked me all the time. Like, and still,
I think
yeah.
I threatened to kick you much more often than I actually.
Terrible. I know. Yeah, Diana, and I want to be real and honest in that, like, sometimes you just can't be this way, and some of you are in really toxic places and with toxic people, and you know, Nina, to your point, who aren't gonna let you be who you are? And I don't have an answer for that, right? Because I've left jobs like that, and I know not everybody can or has those opportunities. So I want to say that sometimes this is really challenging, and that's the forgive yourself part, that a person can only take so much sometimes. So you know, so I really see this as a way for us to help change the generation of women coming along with us, as we mentor other leaders in how to approach problems, and, you know, and how to deal with crisis and stress, and how to be, you know, how to be more positive leaders themselves. So, yeah. I don't know who's first, Randy or Janine?
Janine and then Randy.
First, yeah.
Well, I was going to say that this idea that change is the only constant is something that came to me. My career started as a public school teacher in Hawaii, Honolulu, where they have, it's one big district. So there's just the principals like to move up so that they can have higher positions of like leadership. So it's not like in Massachusetts where someone might be dedicated to a town or something. It's they come and go so much. So you create a whole curriculum. You'd be putting all your time and effort into this one class, this one grade. Next thing you know, the next principal pulls you out and puts you somewhere else. And I remember thinking like how, you know, in the beginning it was just so jarring, but by the end I was like, oh, maybe I'll be here next year, maybe I won't. And that has helped me in higher ed because I've noticed that it's constantly, like you said, Jen, chaotic. So I'm working on my doctorate at Northeastern, and I'm taking this amazing class now with the best professor I've had. And she makes us do that root cause analysis. And so like finding one problem and then looking at all of the possible symptoms and things that are like feeding into that one problem. And it helped me really look at how there's like the big things that you have to fix that are going to take a lot of people's like input. But then there are these other little things that you can fix that she called like quick wins. And if you can try to tackle some quick wins, you might be able to alleviate the bigger problem over time. So that was kind of inspiring for me to think about that and like feeding that into my professional life, because, you know, we are going through a lot of hard times, and it's easy to really only focus on the challenges.
Yeah. Thanks, Janine. That's all about that systems. I like that, you know, the quick wins, and again, looking at everything that feeds into the problem, I think is great.
Okay, ready? So what resonated for me was the autonomy and trust, and letting your people use their expertise and do their work, and or the reverse, having your boss trust you, right, to do the work, and thinking about like who gets to be trusted on campus, who gets to decide who's trusted, how does that all like work around being happy, you know, like, so if I'm not trusted to do my work for whatever reason, somebody doesn't trust me, then how can I ever put on that happy face, right? You know, I'm always fighting for the trust rather than being able to demonstrate the work. And it's kind of relating back to what Janine said in sort of the big picture in design. And that is like a ripple, you know, so trust from the top all the way down sort of leaks and really affects how everybody's able to do their work.
Yep. Yeah, it's so true. And, you know, and I think it's really hard to do, but I think we have some opportunities to stop that cycle. So even when you are not in a supervisory relationship where you are trusted, you can still trust the people who work with you, you know. So and there's no amount of modeling that is going to make some people change how they lead, but I think it's up to us to stop that cycle when you can. But I know it's very difficult, and I think that's what I mostly take away from this is, you know, I try to put a barrier between all the toxic negativity stuff that's happening above me and control the sphere I have. So, and it's the best you can do when you're in the situation that you're describing, Randy. But I know, yeah.
I'm just gonna jump in. I love that point you made, Randy, about either your manager or the people you're managing. And so it's very important for you to always remember, and this is something that I live by, the way that you lead, right? So I know it's cliche to say, but it's always said that if there's a problem and you see it stemming through the organization, if the head is rotten, the body is rotten, right? So if that's happening, where can you make the difference? And you have to make the difference in your sphere of influence. So if you can be a better leader and mentor your your people in your unit, that's what you do. Because sometimes you can't change the head, but you can change where you are in the organization. So thank you, Jen. I loved your presentation.
Sandra, I have to just tell you that you're an example of a positive academic leader, and you always have been. You know, in my work with you, in the job that you held when we worked together, you had to do that. You know, you had to cut off the head, you know, and really just control what you could, and just brought a lot of optimism and joy to your work. So just want to say that too, as many of you have. Okay, I don't want to take too much out of your time. Thank you so much for letting me share this story and sharing some of yours.
Amazing, Jen, just
Thank you.
absolutely amazing. Thank you, thank you, thank you. All right, so shifting gears a little bit, I'm going to share my screen again here. Am I going to share my screen? I am going to share my screen. So, you know, part of our goal this evening is to you know, to launch this branch. The executive steering committee, so far we've had lots of ideas, not always the energy to match our ideas of moving the branch forward, and so we are to recruit people to both join the branch just as participants, but also anyone who would be interested in taking a more active role. And so the four kind of basic areas that we've been thinking about that we really need some assistance in building. The first one is membership. All right, so this is seeking new populations to join us, welcoming new members. Excuse me, Meenakshi is spirit of the folks in the executive committee. Meenakshi is spearheading this. We've also got scholarship. This is our Annie Ryder Memorial Fellowship, and Sandra Walker is spearheading that. Online presence. This is social media, updating the website, making sure that information is accessible and out there in an accurate way. And I'm spearheading that piece. And then lastly, events. This is, you know, bringing in speakers, having workshops, doing some thinking about what kind of programming we want to have as an organization. And Randy Korn is spearheading that part from the executive committee. So we were thinking about whether it would make sense to either have breakout groups, but we do have an awfully small group here, so it probably makes less sense to try and divide, and maybe we can stay in one group to think through how to approach some of these. And I will just take this off. A reminder that one of the things that we're working toward is a bigger launch of the branch on April. I think we've got it kind of penciled in for April 6th. And hopefully we will be up and running at that point. So so that's the ask here. You know, if folks would be interested in learning more about these areas or contributing to them.
I'd be happy to help with the scholarship. That was something that really piqued my interest when you mentioned for future teachers. I loved working with future teachers. So
that is awesome. You know, that the scholarship is the first thing what initially brought this branch to us. I was in a meeting with AAUW leaders, and I don't even know how I ended up with the invitation to it. I don't even know why. It was this random thing that I had, and the Boston branch, the folks that were leading the Boston branch at that time were saying that the group was tired. They only had a couple of people left. They they were all retired and ready to wrap up this part of their careers, and they were hoping to find someone that that would take it on. And I was kind of half listening because again, I didn't even know why I was there, but then they mentioned this fellowship. I was like, oh. And so that started the whole thing of me finding out more information, and then talking to Randy and Sandra and Meenakshi and Amy. Yeah.
And I just wanted to add that, for the membership piece, you could be in any of the other, you could be working and engaged, but if you could share this information in your own areas of people anybody in academia can join. And of course, students can join as associates. So it's a great opportunity for even students to be part of this, to be meeting people who are engaged in academic, either leadership or teaching or other capacities. So please feel free to share this information about our branch in your own areas as well.
And I'm going to drop in the chat just our email address. So if you have questions about membership, you can just send us a note. So there.
Thank you, Sandra.
You're welcome.
I'd be happy to work with with speakers and workshops with Randy. So it's just a lot of great resources of women I'm meeting and things that are happening. So happy to do that.
Awesome. Fabulous. And I wonder too, those of you that aren't, your your plates are more than full, and it feels like it might be too big an ask to join another committee. I wonder if some of you would be willing to share some insights or share some initial ideas of areas that you think could be helpful, right? So those of you that are more adept at social media or online presence and different things like that. If there's anything any caveats or tips, hacks that you'd like to pass along to us, we'd be grateful for that as well, because we're figuring it out as we go along.
Can you just explain a little more of sorry, I'm just kind of like a deer in headlights. I'm so, I want to jump all in, but I also have no clue what I'm jumping in.
I understand.
It's just all the kind of different areas they ask. One of the things, the timeline, you were talking about April, I guess just an overview of kind of.
Yeah, sure. So we are hoping to have an in-person event in early April to welcome new members, to welcome members of the community to join us as we more officially launch or relaunch the branch. So we are still figuring out what that will look like, but we are very much hoping that it will be in person. And so we'll need folks to help us think through what speakers should we be thinking about bringing in, what kind of platform should we be using, we're things like that. Some of the other executive committee members want to chime in on this.
Are you referring to speakers to bring in, not for the 6th, right, but throughout the year for various events?
For the events, yes, but I think if I heard you right, Louis, so you were wondering what is it in April that we're working toward?
Yeah, and also just kind of like the whole overview of what it's starting back. I
hear you. Yep.
I can say a little bit, and I think
that'd be great.
So 2015 to 21, we had a group that was spearheading the Boston branch, and by the time this group was invited to take on, it had pretty much dissolved, so to say. There weren't.
It was dissolved, yeah.
So we are really resurrecting the branch this is all new. So even as some of your questions, what you're asking, I think we're going to be reimagining it and working on it together as a group, as a community. So I think all of this is right now in a formulative state. We do have our mission statement that I had shared with you around the equity piece through our education and through advocacy, etc. But other than that, I think what it would look like, what the events would be, how often we want to, all of this is sort of in the shaping and making. So it would be wonderful. And maybe the April event, as we see, could be something like what we had today. It could be sort of informalish, formal, but a little bigger in person. We are hoping to do it in person. So it's all sort of right now in the making, and just having everybody's voice and input in it would be wonderful.
And folks definitely do not need to commit tonight. We didn't intend for this to be an arm twisting kind of event. We're just happy that y'all are here and joining us. I definitely want to say that. Oh yeah, thank you, Randy.
The website for AAUW, just so you can get an idea of the mission of the whole organization. And this being the Boston branch, even though we're in Cambridge, most of us.
All right. So it is feeling like we're nearing the end of the conversation, if I'm reading the Zoom room right. So certainly, again, don't want to make it seem like we're pushing people, but hopefully you will reach out or be available or be willing to consult with us on things that you've seen be successful in other settings, or if we have a question or something that we can run by you as a focus group. Maybe that would be something that would be less of a lift. All right. Committee, anything else to offer besides our deep gratitude to Jen Sarowick for that amazing presentation. You always, I don't know, Jen, you know that I just love you with every bit of my being, and then you do things like this, and I just remember how incredible you are at your job, as opposed to just the incredibleness of you as a person and dear friend. Just absolutely remarkable, Jen.
Well, thank you. And I'm honored to be with all of you and hope to hear your leadership stories too. So I know that's just one slice of it. So thank you, Diana.
Yes. All right.
Diana, if you want to just do a that embrace thing for yourself, happy to take a screen. I do this in my sleep.
Would you? Oh, that would be great. Okay, thank you. And then you'll just send it to me, and I'll
add
edit it. Okay. All right.
All right.
Thank you, Louisa.
So send me the one that you have, the screenshot that you have, and then I'll edit you in.
That would be fabulous. Thank you very much. I very much appreciate it. I was still strategizing of how can I get this done. Thank you, Louisa. All right, I think we're at the end of our conversation here.
Yeah, so next steps. So we're gonna have our next meeting on April 6th. And hopefully we'll see everyone there again. We'll send out more information, and it'll be in person. It'll be at Leslie, and we'll have more info about that coming out soon. So that's the next steps.
And possibly snacks.
Say that again.
And snacks, food, of course. Can't have you come without food. So
absolutely.
that.
And so Sandra, you'll follow up with Janine on scholarship, and Randy, you'll follow up with Jen on events, right?
Yes.
Fabulous.
Yes.
Thank you, everyone, so much.
Yeah.
I very much appreciate it. All right. Good night, everyone.
Bye. Thanks for inviting me.
Good night. Thank you. Mm.